everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we are back again, and we're now going to talk about boxing and the recent heavyweight clash between WBO IBF and WBA heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua and mandatory IBF challenger Kubrat Pulev. As with always within these boxing reviews, I will be talking spoilers about the fight. So if you don't know the result yet, I advise you to stop watching now, go away, catch up with the full version or some highlighted version of the fight, and then come back to this review. So overall, I think it was a very powerful, if slightly prolonged, performance from Anthony Joshua as he comes through and stops Kubrat Pulev in the 9th round after some vicious knockdowns earlier on in the 3rd round and some powerful and imposing pressure throughout the latter stages of the fight as well. And really, it was convincing to a point. I think if we go over it quickly, the first couple of rounds was a very cagey start, not a lot of punches thrown, a few good jabs from Joshua, both keeping at a certain distance for both fighters really, so no real major initiatives in the first round. And then Joshua came forward in the 2nd round with a couple of good fast combinations, more on the front foot, nothing really special from Pulev at all at this point, nothing really to say about his work or his punch volume or his positioning, no really big power punches. He was just really at times a standing target for Joshua, didn't really come through with any special offense or tactics it seemed. We go on to the 3rd round and that's just where it really exploded into life. It began with a jabbing contest, and then AJ threw a massive crunching right hand, full on flush. Pulev was pummeled and off balance and all over the place, and we all know how a very good finisher that AJ is. He doesn't hang around or rest on his laurels. He comes forward throwing big combinations, had Pulev in all sorts of trouble, struggling on the ropes into the corner, and then he turned his back and the referee gave him a standing 8 count. Now, a lot of people I have heard saying that should you have stopped the fight, because when the fighter turns his back, it genuinely means that he doesn't want to carry on fighting. You know, it's technically a quit when you turn around and you don't throw any punches anymore. I don't believe in that. I think if the fighter is upright and he's still got his faculties about him for the most part, I think you do give him a standing 8 count, which he did. And Pulev was still at the moment trying to recover, did well to survive the round, but Joshua just came right forward. And then shortly again, later on in the round, Joshua cracked him again with another great right hand, sending him down to the floor once again. And at this point, Joshua was really dominating. And you are surprised that Joshua really didn't finish off. There was a point, particularly in the first knockdown, when I did think that the ref could have stopped it, because Pulev wasn't even fighting back. He was really off balance. He wasn't retaliating. He wasn't throwing any punches. So in that 3rd round, particularly when Joshua knocked him down shortly after Pulev turned his back, I think if the referee had stopped the fight, I don't think you could have given him much criticism. But credit to the ref, he let it go. Not many would have. Pulev withstood the results, he carried on. We go on into the later rounds, and again I think Joshua took his foot off the gas a bit. Now there's multi-levels here. Was it a case of he was gassing, because we all know he carries a lot of that huge muscular weight, and we've seen in previous fights that after the 5th or 6th round he does tend to drop the intensity, giving an indication that he does lack a bit of endurance and stamina after the later rounds. Was this also, I think, as well, a carryover from what happened in the Ruiz fight? Because if you remember, there was a similar dynamic where Joshua went in for the kill in the 3rd round. He got knocked down. He tried to finish off Ruiz, missed it for a couple of punches, and then got countered. We remember that left hand, that left punch to the ear really threw Joshua off his balance and equilibrium. So I think Joshua was very cautious. I think he was cautious of the Ruiz fight, what happened, and that's why we saw him kind of backing off. It was much more of a controlled aggression, which I think is to be merited. You know, we don't want boxers going in and just swinging away like they're fighting in a bar or something, but at the same time you could criticise him for not maybe getting Pulev out there a lot earlier. But he was always in control of the fight. Pulev offered virtually next to nothing in terms of resistance. He had a few stand-up moments in the mid-rounds because Joshua was backing off, but every time Pulev was throwing punches forward, AJ was always backing off, and he seemed to be almost laughing at times. Anytime Pulev tried to come forward, he knew that Pulev was never going to threaten him. and he was just backing off and just saving energy, I suppose. And then we go through to the ninth round, comes forward again using some fast combinations, and there were some vicious uppercuts. I believe it might have been the 8th round, some vicious uppercuts that he was throwing, just one after the other. And again, Pulev was doing well to really just stand on his feet, and then there was a massive uppercut knocking him down again in the 9th round, and Pulev did well to get up. I really thought it was a knockout blow, but well done Pulev. He's very tough. He's been in the fight game for a long time now, so yep, he's been in certain wars, so he's a very tough competitor. He's not going to go down easy, but at this point the fight was really over, and then AJ came through again with another crushing right hand, just decked him on the floor, and Pulev just couldn't make the standing 10 count, and then it was all over. And really there's not a lot more to say about it, really. We could look at it two ways. As I mentioned before, we could look at it and say, well, maybe AJ should have finished him off a lot earlier. Is there still remnants coming over from the Ruiz fight? Is he going to be a lot more hesitant in the future? Is he going to be standoffish? Has some of his more aggressive nature and his aggressive streak been taken away from the Ruiz fight? Or you could look at it again, say maybe he's learned from it, right? Maybe he's learned now that yes, you can still be on the front foot, still be aggressive, look to take your man out, but don't go in there blind, don't go in there reckless. Have a controlled aggression, control your position, and make sure you can still throw your punches off without leaving yourself exposed. So it's an either or. I know many people are going to throw comparisons to Wilder or Fury and maybe criticise AJ for not taking his opponent out sooner, but I think if we look at it, he took very minimal damage. He knocked his opponent down multiple times. He did get him out there eventually, and he won in a convincing fashion. So you can't really criticise a champion too much if he achieves all of that, right? So I think overall, I don't think AJ himself will be critical at all from his performance. You do have to remember, it's been a long time now since he last fought against Ruiz, which was over a year ago now. So no real issues or problems going forward for AJ, I don't think. Obviously in the post-match interviews, they're going to bring up Fury. That's going to happen all the time now. They may have other mandatories for his other belts. We do know that Usyk is the mandatory for his WBO belt. Now, to be honest, I think Joshua's going to vacate that belt. I've thought that way for a long time. Really, ever since Usyk signed with Matchroom and he got that automatic WBO mandatory spot. Something I never agree with, despite the fact that Usyk's unified the cruiserweight division. I don't think any fighter should automatically get a mandatory spot when they jump up to the next division, but that's the rules. But that's what I think will happen. I think he will vacate the WBO belt, and Usyk will probably fight Joe Joyce for it, because if you remember, Joe Joyce beats Daniel Dubois, who was ranked number 3 in the WBO rankings. So I think we'll see Usyk against Joe Joyce for the WBO version, and then maybe later on down the line, if we can't get the Fury fight, then they'll probably set up an Usyk fight with Joshua for a unification bout as well. That's what I think will happen. I don't like to be too negative or pessimistic, but I don't think we're going to get this AJ and Fury fight right now, because Fury is not going to jump into a fight with AJ now. He's going to at least want 1 or 2 fights, because remember, he hasn't fought for over a year. He failed to get his interim fight in December following the falling out of the 3rd Wilder fight. Who knows, they might try and rearrange that next year when we're getting crowds back in a smaller capacity, so they might try to re-enter that fight again, because if we be honest, that's going to be a bigger payday for Fury than any other interim fights that he's got right now. And of course, his confidence will be flying high following the crushing victory that he had for the 2nd fight. So I would say he's more than likely going to fight Wilder next year than what he will against Joshua. So I think what will happen is Fury will fight Wilder, and I think Joshua will vacate the WBO belts and still keep his 2 belts, while Usyk will fight Joe Joyce, and maybe we might see a returning bout with Dillian Whyte if Dillian Whyte can't get his shot against Tyson Fury. That's the turn of events I think will happen, but we'll never know. But I think it will be unfortunate if Joshua vacates his belt, because I want to see that undisputed. I want to see Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for all the belts. And I think if Joshua vacates it, it takes away some of the luster away from that matchup. But we'll wait and see what happens in the future going ahead for boxing. Now, I think going ahead, we've still got GGG fighting next week, and we've still got Canelo against Callum Smith as well. But regarding Joshua, there's not really a lot more you can say. It was a completely dominating and powerful performance. It was very aggressive, controlled aggression. You got a couple of knockouts. You got very high octane action. I don't think you can complain too much from a Joshua perspective in terms of his performance. He did everything he set out to do. The only critical aspect you can throw is that maybe he should have taken out Pulev a lot earlier, but again, that's I think a carryover from what happened with the Ruiz fight, and he's just being a bit more considered in his approach and his attacks, and he doesn't want to be caught and left open again like it was last time. So at least he's learning. At least, you know, whatever you want to say about AJ, he has got a sound boxing mindset, a sound boxing fundamental, and he does think about his strategy and his past performances and approaches each fight one at a time. So I think that's the ideal way to go for Joshua. But really, there's not a lot more we can say about this. So a convincing performance from Joshua, and we will see what develops forward going for him next year. So those are my overall thoughts and review of the heavyweight fight between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you convinced that we will see an eventual fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury next year, or do you think if we don't see it next year then it won't happen at all, because those mandatories are going to start mounting up for both champions? And who knows in boxing, this is heavyweight, we've seen it already in a couple of fights. All it takes is one punch to completely change the dynamic, and if one of those loses, then it really takes away the whole luster of that undisputed fight that we all want to see. So let me know what you think in the comments below regarding this fight between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev. I will provide more content for you in the future, so please hit those like and subscribe buttons. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.